This load pays more. So why does the week still feel worse? Because a higher rate does not always mean better money. Deadhead, reload, and payment timing can flip the whole week. And that is where a lot of truckers lose margin without seeing it. If a load looks strong at first glance, that does not mean it protects the full week. And in trucking, that difference matters more than most people think. A lot of bad decisions in trucking do not look bad at the beginning. That is the real problem. Some loads look clean, simple, and profitable right away. The rate looks better. The trip sounds fine. Everything feels like an easy yes. But that first number is never the full story. A load does not exist by itself. It changes what happens next. It changes where you end up, how long you wait, how hard the reload becomes, and what kind of week you are building after delivery. That is why a higher paying load can still lead to a weaker result, not because the load looked terrible, but because it looked stronger than it really was. And that is where a lot of truckers lose money. Not on obviously bad freight, but on freight that looks good enough to say yes before they see the full picture. They only realize it later when the week turns out tighter than expected. The part many drivers miss is what comes after the load. That is where the real difference starts to show. A load can feel strong right up until it drops you in the wrong place. Now the next move gets harder, the reload is weaker, the waiting starts, the week slows down. And once that happens, the first load starts losing its shine very fast. That is the trap. The problem is not always the first load by itself. The problem is what that load does to the rest of the week. A lower paying load that keeps you moving well can sometimes protect your week better than a load that only looks stronger on paper. That is why smart load decisions are not just about what pays more at the start. They are about what leaves you in a better position after delivery. Because position matters, momentum matters, and what comes next matters more than most drivers realize when they first see the rate. There is one more thing that makes this even more dangerous: timing. A load may look better because the rate is higher, but if the timing around that load gets worse, the pressure builds fast. If the trip slows you down, if the reload takes longer, or if the money takes too long to land, the week can still feel tight even when the load looked better at the start. That is why surface numbers can be flattering. They make a load feel stronger than it really is. And if you keep choosing loads based only on the first number, you can miss the difference between a load that looks good and a load that actually supports a better week. That is the real shift. Not just asking, does it pay more? But asking, does this move actually make the week better? That question changes everything because better trucking decisions are not built on appearance. They are built on what the full week becomes after the load. The best-looking load is not always the load that helps you most. Sometimes the stronger decision is the one that protects the next move, the next day, and the full week. If you want more breakdowns like this on loads, brokers, and smarter trucking decisions, subscribe. And as always, have a safe road, a